Hey lovelies, I hope you're well. My name is Serena and today I'll be taking you through a nice flow to warm up the legs, get them nice and fiery, get them nice and open. You may need a couple of blocks, so if you have some accessible for you today, please do grab them and have them ready. Otherwise, I shall meet you at the back of the mat in child's pose. So finding your child's pose, bring in the knees nice and wide, toes together, rest the chest forward towards the ground. Today I want you to think about really pushing back in towards the heels, so moving the sit bones towards the heels rather than dumping the chest down. So if you need to come up with the chest in order to allow that to happen, that would be my preference for today. Really starting to open the hips, getting into the joints of the legs, maybe even have a bit of a shuffle around with the hips here. Taking a couple more breaths with whatever you're doing in your child's pose today. Really nice. And then when you're ready, slowly coming up towards a tabletop position, as if you're coming into tabletop, but tuck the toes under, push the hips up and back. We're jumping straight into our downward facing dog today. So in your down dog, making sure those hands are about shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider if you know you're tight in the shoulders, and then the feet about hip distance apart. Feel free to keep those knees nice and bent for this first downward facing dog. Just pressing nice and firmly into the ground with the hands, pressing the torso back towards the thighs. Again, the option to pedal out the feet or move around if you need to. Take this time to work through the body. Really nice. And then when you're ready, shift this left foot into the center of the mat to allow yourself to reach that right foot up and back behind you, trying to keep the hips as square as possible. Then as you exhale, bring this knee towards the chest, hold for a second with the shoulders over the wrists, and then gently place it in between the hands. If it doesn't quite reach, just shuffle it forward with the hands so that it's at the top of the mat. And then see if you can really press down into both feet, reach the hands up overhead, find a nice high lunge. Really pressing through that back heel, try to take the kink out of that back knee. Take an inhale. Exhale, sink a little deeper into the front leg. I told you we're getting fiery. Last breath. Bring the hands to heart center. See if you can just push off of that back leg, sink into a gentle chair pose, and then up to your Tadasana. Let's take a vinyasa to get to the other side. Inhale, reach those hands up overhead, gazes to the thumbs. Exhale, have a gentle fold over the legs, bend the knees. Inhale, lifting the chest flat back, bringing the hands to the shins. Exhaling, planting the hands, step back to your plank. Your inhale is here, take an exhale, lower the knees, the rest of the body follows. Hug the elbows in. Inhale, peel the chest off the floor, have a gentle back bend. Exhaling, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. Doing that on the left side. So this time, shifting that right foot to the center of the mat. Take an inhale, lift the left foot up and back behind you. Again, maybe think about dropping that left hip. Then on your exhale, bring that knee in towards the chest. Hold for a breath count. And then gently place it at the top of the mat. Again, shuffle it forward with the hands if you need to. Grounding down through that front foot and the back ball of the foot. Reaching up to your high lunge. Again, press through the back of that heel. Take the kink out of the knee. Take an inhale. Exhale, sink a little deeper. Really nice. When you're ready, hands come to heart center. Shift your weight forward. Come into a gentle child's pose. Coming back up to standing. Moving on, take an inhale, sinking back into your chair pose. Bend the knees, sweep the arms up overhead. Bringing the hands to heart center, pick up that left foot, step it to the back of the mat, bring the hands up overhead, we're in our high lunge. Shift the weight forward over the front leg, bring the arms back behind you. Take an inhale, bring them forward. Exhale, back behind you. One more, inhale, bring them forward. Exhale, behind you. Drop the back knee down to the floor, bring the hands to the thigh, untuck the back toe, sink into that front hip, getting in to this left hip quad. quad, hip flexor, and the quad. Taking a few breaths here. Really think about sinking down and forward. Making sure our front knee is nice and tracked over those toes. Last breath. Really nice. Tuck those back toes under. Reach the hands up overhead. Engage everything you can in your body. See if you can pick that back knee off the floor to a high lunge. And then frame that front foot, step back to your plank. Go through a vinyasa. You can lower the knees, or this time maybe come down all the way in one go. Inhale, peel the chest. Exhale, tuck the toes up and back with the hips. Downward facing dog. Really nice. Take an inhale, bring that right foot up and back behind you. Exhale, bring it to the top of the mat. Open up the arms, finding a nice deep warrior two. Again, sinking into this front leg. Hands are parallel to the floor. Take an inhale, straighten that front leg. Reach as far forward as you can. Release this right hand down to the shin, the ankle, the floor. If you have an Ashtangi bind, take your two-piece fingers, wrap it around that right big toe. 2 more deep breaths. Last one. Really nice. Drop this left hand to meet to frame that front right foot with the right hand as well. And then gently bend into that front foot. Step the left to meet the right at the top of the mat. Stand back to your Tadasana. Let's go opposite side. Take an inhale, bend the knees, sweep the arms overhead. Strong chair pose. Bringing the hands to heart center. Pick up that right knee off the floor, not knee, foot. Then gently place it to the back of your mat. Find your high lunge. Find a nice strong stance first. Then slowly start to shift that weight forward over the front leg. Bring the hands down. Inhale, reach them up. Exhale, lower. 2 more. Inhale, up. Keep pressing through that back foot. And lower. Last one. Inhale. And lower. Really nice. Drop the back knee down towards the floor. Bring the hands to that thigh. Sink into the front leg. Getting into the right hip flexor this time. Trying to square off the hips as much as you can. So pull that left hip backwards, right hip comes forward. Last breath. Getting ready to engage. So start to tuck those back toes under. Squeeze everything. Bring the arms up overhead. Push that back foot into the ground to allow that knee to lift off. Hold in here. Then frame that front foot, stepping back to a plank. Lower down through a vinyasa. Inhaling, upward facing. Exhale, roll over, down dog. Take an inhale, reach the left foot up and back behind you this time. Exhale, bringing it through to the top of the mat. Grounding that back foot down, sweeping the arms up and over, warrior two. Hold in here. 2 breaths. Last one. Then straighten up that front leg. Inhale, reach as far forward as you can. Exhale, release this left hand down towards the shin, the ankle, the floor, or a block. If you've done so on the other side, taking your 2-piece fingers, wrap them around the big toe. 2 breaths. Last one. And then frame that front foot, gently bend into that front leg. Step the right one to meet the left at the top of the mat. This time hanging out in a nice forward fold. Shuffle the feet so that they're about hip distance apart. Grab hold of the elbows, sway from side to side in your ragdoll. You have the option to have a gentle micro bend in the knees if that's comfortable. 2 breaths here. Use this time to find the rhythm of your breath again. When you're ready, release the hands down to the floor. Take an inhale, find your flat back. Exhale, bringing the hands to the floor, step back to a plank. Take an inhale here. Exhale, lower. Inhale, pull yourself forward, upward facing dog. Exhale, roll over, down dog. Take an inhale, reach that right foot up and back behind you, opening up the hip this time, so you're dropping the right heel down towards the left glute. Maybe have a quick look underneath that right shoulder. And as you exhale, bring that right foot to the top of the mat, in between the hands. This time, straightening that front foot. Finding our pyramid pose. You have the options to bring the block to either side of the foot, bringing the floor a tiny bit closer to you. And maybe even if you are used to having your hands on the floor or they can reach, just bringing the blocks there so you're encouraging your spine to go straight rather than folding forward. We're going to bring a little bit of movement here. So on your inhale, sink into that front leg. Exhale, push back, pyramid pose. Inhale, sink in. Exhale, pushing back, trying to keep the hips nice and square. Inhale, sink in. Exhale, back. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. And exhale. Really nice. When you're ready, sink back into that front leg. Drop the back knee to the floor. Untuck the toes. Find your low lunge. Again, option to place the hands on the thigh. And then bring a little bit of activeness now. You may need to roll up your mat to create a tiny bit of extra padding if your knees are a little bit knobbly like mine and they hurt when they're on the floor. And then slowly start to engage that left glute, the left thigh. Slowly start to pull that left foot in towards the body. It may not come that close, but you want to feel nice and active. You may even start to shake. Hold in here for 3. Keep sinking forward for 2. And 1, dropping that foot back down to the floor, really nice. Press into the blocks of the floor in front of that right foot, or either side of the right foot. Tuck the left toes under, push back into an extended pyramid. So maybe your stance is a little bit wider now. Take an inhale, lift your chest forward. Exhale, fold. So our leg remains straight this time. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, fold. And this may be only some tiny movement, that's absolutely fine. Inhaling forward. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale. And exhale. Really nice. Just have a gentle bend in that front leg to allow yourself to move the blocks out the way if you are using blocks. Plant the hands on the floor and just step back to a downward facing dog. Root that right heel all the way to the mat. Have a gentle lift in the left foot. It doesn't have to leave the floor, but just making sure we're not putting any pressure on it, just so we can stretch out the whole of that right leg. And then let's go on the left side. So take an inhale, reach that left foot up and back. Start to open up that hip, so bring that left foot towards the right glute. Maybe have a gentle look underneath the left arm. Say hello. Then exhale, bring that foot in between the hands at the top of the mat. Again, taking your blocks to encourage the spine to stay straight, even if you know you can comfortably reach the floor. Take an inhale here. Exhale, stretch back to your pyramid. Take a moment, set your posture up. Find those nice square hips. Inhale, reach that body forward, bend into that front leg. Exhale, push the hips back. Inhale, reaching forward. Exhale, back to trying to connect the belly to the thigh and keeping it there. Inhale. Exhale, push back. Last one. Inhale. Exhaling, pushing back. Really nice. Take an inhale, have a gentle bend in that front leg to release the back leg down towards the floor. Untuck the toes. Take your low lunge. Hands can come to the thigh. And then if you need to, rolling up that mat if you've done so on the other side. Starting to engage that right glute this time. Slowly peel that foot off the floor in towards the body. Again, it might not come that far. That's absolutely fine. Just try to keep sinking into that front leg. 3 breaths. 2. Last one. And then drop that back leg back to the floor, planting the hands on your block or the foot on the mat, whatever you're using. Tuck the back toes under, push the hips back. We're in this extended pyramid pose. Our legs might be slightly longer coming up from our low lunge. And then when you're ready, take an inhale, keep that chest lifted. Exhale, fold over the legs. Inhale, that chest lifts forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale and fold. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Again, if you're using blocks, gently move them out the way to allow yourself to come to a downward facing dog. This time, pressing the left foot all the way into the mat, gently picking up the right foot to allow yourself to press the whole of the left sole of the foot onto your mat. Take one last breath. Really nice. And then when you're ready, start to stand normally in your downward facing dog, so you're pressing equally into both feet. And then move the feet wide as the mat, so you're in this really wide down dog. See if you can get a little bit more opening in the lower back, all the way down the hamstrings by tilting that tailbone up towards the ceiling. And then turn the toes out so the heels are facing inwards. Start to walk the hands back so that they're meeting the legs at the back of the mat, sitting in our malasana, our yogi squat. As always, if you need to have a block underneath the seat to allow the floor to be a little bit closer to you, absolutely fine. But just making sure we're still pressing into the legs and engaging the outsides of our thighs and our glutes. Sitting here for 4, for 3, for 2, and 1. Release the hands down to the floor. Press the bum up into the air. Turn the toes in so that they're parallel now. Release the body over the legs. Take your 2-piece fingers, wrap them around the big toes. Take an inhale, lift the chest, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. We're in this wide Padangusthasana. Release the head down towards the floor. Allow the elbows to drop out to the sides of the room. One more breath. Really nice. Walk the hands back out into a downward facing dog, releasing the toes. Once you have, drop the knees down to the floor. Cross the shins over. Allow yourself to come to your seat. Shuffle the weight forward so you can start to lay on your back. As you do, bring this right foot up. Grab hold of the right toes with the right finger, with the 2-piece fingers. Take an inhale here. Exhale, push that heel away from you. Hold in here for 4. For 3. Keep pushing the heels so you're getting the calf stretch here as well. Last breath. Really nice. Guide that foot over the left knee, pressing the outside edge of that right leg out, and then maybe step this left leg closer in towards the body. Intensify the stretch. If you want to go even further, you can grab hold of the right thigh, or maybe the left thigh, or maybe even the left shin, and guide that foot closer in towards the body, making sure to keep pressing that right knee out towards the top end of your mat. So squeeze in that right glute. Last breath. And then gently releasing that leg if you had hold of it, releasing the right off of the left. Guiding this left leg into the body this time, grab hold of the left big toe with the 2-piece fingers. Start to push that heel away from you. Really kick that foot away as much as you can, stretching the whole of that left leg. 2 more breaths. And then guide that foot over towards that right thigh, pressing the outside edge of that left leg away from you. And then maybe step that right foot closer. Maybe go further still by grabbing hold of the thigh, or maybe even the shin. Keeping that leg pressed away from you as the foot comes closer. 1 more breath. And then when you're ready, gently release down to the mat. Bring the feet as wide as the mat. Drop the knees in together. So you've got this internal rotation of the hips. And then bring the hands to either side of the body. Palms facing upwards. You have the option to stay here instead of your shavasana. If you would prefer a full shavasana, just sliding the legs down along the mat. Bring them as wide as the mat. Taking the last few moments of your practice here. When you're ready, if you're in your Shavasana, just bringing the knees in closer towards the body. Giving yourself a big squeeze. Grab hold of the backs of the thighs. Have a little rock up and down of the spine. Maybe a couple times or maybe 3 to allow yourself to rock all the way back up to seated. Find a cross-legged position. Take a moment here. Option to keep the eyes closed. Bringing the hands to heart center. Take a moment to thank yourself for showing up for today's practice. Bowing the head down. Thank you.